Hello everybody, welcome to Dackman Productions. We're here at the Great Scale Train Show in Timonium, Maryland with Jory Robinson. This is going to be part of my Conrail 50 celebration because Jory Robinson was actually an ex-Conrail engineer and I wanted to get an interview with her. I do have a couple of other Conrail ex-employees that also watch my videos and comment, so glad to have actually somebody on video for once from that era. So you actually, Joy, you actually made history with when you joined Conrail. So tell us all about your Conrail days. When did you start?
Okay, well I started back in 1977 as a block operator.
Oh, wow.
So I was a block operator after they closed the towers down, unfortunately, and then I became a clerk. And then later, back in 1994, I signed up to be a brakeman. And so, and 6 months later, I decided to be an engineer. So I went to engineer school in 1994.
And that's when you pretty much made history.
Yes. Well, I was Harrisburg's first female train engineer out of Harrisburg, out of about 3,000 men, they said.
Wow,
yes.
That's so cool, though.
Yes.
And so, what made you want to get into the career of a railroad person?
Well, I was always fascinated with trains, and then I have an uncle that was a motorman. And so I was always, amazed with him. And then I lived by the train yard. So I would sneak over there and watch these guys. And I said, this looks like a cool job. So one day, after working at Hamilton Health Center, I decided that I'm going to go and apply for Amtrak. So at that time, they were not hiring Amtrak engineers. So I hired as a block operator. That was in 1977.
Now, looking at your sign that's behind you, it looks like you rolled over into the Norfolk Southern when Conrail was bought out or split between CSX and Norfolk Southern?
Yes. So I started with Conrail, but then that they decided to buy us. Then I rolled over to Norfolk Southern. So I had a choice with going to CSX or going with Norfolk Southern. But since I was qualified on so many tracks, I decided to stay with Norfolk Southern.
Yeah, because I that was interesting because I know somebody else who's an engineer and they say you got to qualify for certain routes or certain tracks.
Yes.
So it's not like you can just, once you become an engineer, you can just run any track you want. You got to qualify for that, correct?
Yes. You have to learn that route, and then you have to take a test to get your certification, of course.
Right, and just kind of interesting. I heard you got to recertify every so many years or something.
Yes, you have to recertify. I believe it's every year, but it may be different. Different railroads have different qualifications.
Oh, so you got to actually recertify.
I think we had to qualify every year because it's been 32 years since I worked on the railroad now.
Right.
So I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So what time period did you work for the railroad? From what year to what, when you finally retired?
Okay, so I started in 1977 and I retired around 2005.
Wow.
So essentially, I have about 28 years, between the time I was laid off and everything, something around that number.
And, I believe, it was the hard work of Conrail people like yourself who actually basically saved the East Coast, because there were multiple railroads that were failing. And they were all East Coast railroads from New Haven to Penn Central, Reading. They were all collapsing. And then there would have been a supply chain shortage, basically an interruption to the East Coast. And without people dedication and bringing everything back to a successful business, we would have been in trouble on the East Coast. Is how I look at it.
Yes, I agree with you. And at one time, they were trying to let Conrail be Conrail. But then, I don't know, here comes the merger. And so all of a sudden, we had to decide which one. But I'm glad that, the railroad was saved and it was okay now.
Right. And it still actually survives in a way today as Conrail shared asset operations.
Yeah. So when they decided to buy, when NS decided to buy us, we had a choice. We could be CSX or we could be Norfolk Southern. So, as I said before, because I was qualified on so many routes going east, so I decided to stay with Norfolk Southern.
Norfolk Southern.
Because if I went with CSX, that meant that I had to qualify on more railroads, more lines.
Okay. So, as a Conrail engineer, I got to ask you this now. Interested. What was your favorite locomotive to run?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I kind of favor the SD40-2.
Oh, yeah. Thumbs up.
That was a workhorse.
Yes.
That engine, it could work in the yard, it could work on the road. It had good torque. When you load it, it would move quickly. But I also like the SD90 Max too. But that engine was not good in the yard because it was so big.
Right.
I was fascinated with that engine, but my favorite engine, I'd have to say, I have to give a thumbs up to SD40.
That's my all-time favorite too. I mean, as a diesel mechanic,
yes.
My opinion is you can't get any better of a locomotive than an EMD SD40-2.
Oh my goodness! Yes.
I don't care what people say about the GE. What I called, the GE, I called basically junk electric. But anyway,
Okay.
yeah. But as far as in the realm of Alco, GE, nothing can beat that EMD SD40-2.
I agree with you. That was my favorite engine. I said I got an SD40-2 today. I was happy with that.
Now, I heard from other engineers who comment to me offline or online, whatever have you, whenever they saw a GE, like a U-boat in the lead, they would get mad. They weren't happy because they didn't like the U-boats that much. Did you find any, did you get to run any of those or no? Like the U25, U30, U33?
I didn't run too many. When I first started, I did, but after I became an engineer, I didn't see too many of them around because they didn't last, not with us.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because they were already beat up from previous railroads not maintaining them properly.
So I ran, like a lot of the SD70s, a lot of the SD90 Max.
Yeah, when you were
the EMDs.
Yeah, and just to make sure everybody's clear, when she's talking about the SD90 Max, she's talking about the Norfolk Southern era, correct?
Yes, even though we didn't own it, but if that engine was on my head end of my lead engine, then I had to operate it. So I ran any of the diesel.
Oh.
Yes. Because I had someone that says, oh, she didn't run the SD90 Max because NS didn't have them. But when the engines come in the yard and they put it on the lead engine because it was so powerful, then that was my lead engine, and then I had the opportunity to operate it.
Okay, I see how that works now.
Yes.
And for those who are saying that, I find that kind of odd because I was at the Horseshoe Curve many years ago, and Norfolk Southern actually bought SD90 Max from Union Pacific. So I don't know why they would say that because they did indeed have SD90 Max.
Yes.
Maybe not at the time period you were working for them, but they did have them.
It was such a powerful engine, and you know what? It held 6,000 gallons of fuel.
Wow.
So they didn't have to stop and get fuel so much. That was a powerhouse. Yeah, it was a powerhouse engine.
But still, your favorite was the SD40-2, yeah. And that's funny you say that because that's actually my favorite too.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
See, I didn't know that, Sean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Only as a diesel mechanic standpoint, I look at things from a diesel mechanic standpoint, not from a rail fan standpoint. You know what I mean? If that makes sense, because some people are like, yeah, this is such a cool engine. Like, those were junk. What are you talking about?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of them were junk, but it was always good to get a wide body. If you're going far, like, my first run was from Hagerstown to Allentown. So I ran 168 miles one way. And so it was good to get a wide body if you're on the road
Yeah.
for 12 hours.
And and it's crazy because some rail fans out there, I don't consider myself a rail fan per se, but I just like trains in general. But some diehard rail fans don't like wide body locomotives for some reason, but they were more comfortable for you guys, weren't they?
Oh my God, yes. They are more comfortable because they're big and you got room to stand and room to breathe. And, they had everything. They were air conditioned and all of the latest technology.
And, did they get into PTC when you were still in, or was that after you had left?
Well, I had that. Like if I was running the automobile train from Enola to Delaware, we had that because we had cab signals and we had all that technology.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
But that train control thing was a really good thing. But on some of the older engines, of course, that wasn't there. But I think now they have probably integrated it on all of the railroads now.
And yeah, I'm just enjoying the conversation with you about Conrail. But I'm sure I talked to many engineers, and they just like their Conrail ears the best. And I don't know if you felt that way yourself, or if you felt they were equally the same to yourself.
Between Conrail and Norfolk Southern, well, my Conrail years were pretty good. So, and a lot of us favored Conrail. And I'm one of those Conrail fans because that's where I started.
Right.
And so, you tend to kind of go with who you started with.
Yeah.
Conrail treated us good, and
I did hear that. I heard that they treated their employees like family.
oh my God, Conrail was the absolute best.
Right. And they even had family days, from what I understood?
Oh yes. They had family days, and at one time I was allowed to take kids on a train ride in Enola because I did a lot of train safety, and so we had a family day. So the kids would come, they would get on the engine, and we would get on the engine, and they would turn it at the turntable, and I'd take
Oh, wow.
little ride. But of course, because of safety reasons, we don't do that anymore. But in Conrail days, they did let our family come and kids. I mean, I took kids on a train ride. I mean, not a train ride, but they were on the engine.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah. That was only in Conrail days, and that's what I said. Conrail was just the coolest.
Yeah, and they were rail fan friendly.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And my understanding is they would actually throw their train orders out the window for rail fans to pick up.
Well, I didn't know about that, but I'm sure they did. Yeah. Because I mean, the Conrail fellas were just some of the coolest. What can I say? And the girls.
Were there eventually a lot of women that entered the career like you did, or?
Well, I must say I did know of two girls that worked for Conrail, but they didn't work in Harrisburg. Like I said, I was Harrisburg's first female train engineer. But I remember Susie, and there was another girl that worked, but she worked in Reading and some other places.
Oh.
Like in Allentown. She probably was the first one, like in Allentown or someplace.
Oh, that's very cool.
But I knew of two other girls in the time that I worked. But I'm sure there was other women that worked for Amtrak way before I did, because Amtrak, they always had women.
Yeah. So today, well, you're retired from the railroad altogether.
Yes, I am.
And Jory now sells books, correct?
Yes, I do.
So tell us about your books.
So I did my first book called Railroad People back in 2001. And it was so successful, like I sold thousands of that book, but I decided to redo it and make it more colorful. And then I just decided to add to it. So I have about 12 books now. So I have Johnny's Amazing Train Ride, Little Logan Loves Trains. I have A Girl, the Train and Her Dream, Locomotive Legends, which is an awesome book. And then I have a lot of other books too. Oh, the one that is so cool, If Trains Could Talk, What Would They Say?
Oh, yeah. All right. That's pretty cool. And these are all kids' books?
Yeah, these are kids' books. But I have a new book coming out in about 3 months. It's called The Lady on the Locomotive, and it's a memoir. So it talks about my days on the railroad and different stories, like somebody's robbing my train when I was in Jersey, and the time I was on the circus train. So I was the engineer on the circus train.
Really?
The red circus train. How cool is that?
Yeah, that is cool.
Yes. So I have a lot of different stories, and they're all true, and it's a positive book, and it's for train lovers and anyone that just want to know more about train operations.
And is that book based mainly on Conrail, or is it both Conrail and Norfolk Southern?
It's both of them.
Okay.
But I have a lot in there about Conrail.
Okay.
Because that's my starting ground, and that's my stepping stone.
Right.
So it's a lot in about Conrail.
All right. So, looking at these books with you today, can people buy these online?
They can buy them on Amazon.
Oh, Amazon.
Yes, Amazon. So I have them there, or of course, I'm at the train shows.
Right.
They can call me, and they're at Strasburg, they're at the Gettysburg Railroad, they're at New Freedom, and some other train. Oh, and they're at the B&O Railroad Museum.
And getting back to that one book that I see here, The Girl and Her Train, Her Train and Her Dream, is this sort of like loosely based on you, or?
Yes, it is. It is. So if you notice, I was looking out at the train yard because I could see the train yard from my backyard, and so I said I'm going to check it out. So it just takes you through the days when I was fascinated with trains, and then I decided to go to the train yard, and then I decided to be a brakeman, and then a conductor, and finally an engineer.
Wow, that is so cool. So if you see Joy at a train show, please support her. She creates these great books for kids. Bring her kids out. Let them pick out some books for them to read. If you can't make it to a train show, as you heard, she sells them on Amazon. Everybody's got an Amazon account, so that makes it easy too. And just support her in this way. Some great books that she is selling right here. Railroad People, you can see it right there.
And then any purchase that anyone makes helps me to continue to travel and do train safety. So I do train safety. So I travel, and it's always free. So I go to Maryland, and I go to different places.
Oh.
And so I do, a program about trains. So
Trains.
I talk about the history of trains. And then, of course, I talk about the dangers of trespassing. And it's a free program.
I appreciate the lengthy amount of time you spent with me talking about your Conrail days, the books. I didn't realize about the train safety program that you're offering for free. That's cool, too. And really appreciate this time you're spending with me, especially as a Conrail enthusiast myself.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
So much.
And
Thank you for your time.
no problem. And we'll catch you at the next train show.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Bye.